A biologist's adventure, magic portals and river dolphins. As a child, I always sensed that there was more to the world than just buildings, offices, and jobs. I always sought after whatever this was, in the small patch of wilderness behind my house where I felt it lurking. Something bigger and grander than our constructed human world seemed to live there, like a force that was ancient and wise, a force that spoke to me of untold magic. I was lucky to live in a safe campus with a group of equally curious friends to go on such adventures with me. I didn't recognize it then, but I had fallen in love with the natural world and had developed respect and awe for all of the beings who inhabited it. They were simply part of the magic. You might know the feeling, that feeling of curiosity, adventure, and of surrealness when you find something that you think is beautiful, perhaps a colorful sunset in the sky, or a clear, starry night with a bright moon lighting up the world around you, or even simpler feelings like a soothing breeze, the warmth of sunshine on a cold day, and the sound of birds, flowing water, or music. These are the moments that you want to stay with and feel to the fullest. The next time you feel this, be in the moment and allow yourself to experience and recognize this beauty in all of its forms, because what you are feeling is not a fantasy. As I grew up, I began to feel silly that I was romanticizing my love for nature. But now, after working in the wild for 6 months, I think these feelings are the remains of our connections to an ancient world. Allow me to explain myself through the story of the Ganges River dolphin. Dolphins are not just friendly, cute, and curious animals of the sea, but are also extremely shy, kind of ugly and scared animals found in our Ganga and Brahmaputra rivers. As a part of the research team working for scientists, we spend most of our time in Assam, where the Brahmaputra river flows, either living very close to Kaziranga National Park, known for its rhinos, or living on the river itself in a boat big enough for 17 people. Our work consisted of gathering information by observing and counting dolphins when we saw them. Sometimes we would go in search of them on the boat and count how many lived in the Brahmaputra. But at other times, we would stay on the river banks and wait for dolphins in order to observe them. Now, don't think this is as easy as it sounds. Think of how rivers look. Can you see the riverbed? Mostly no, unless the river has absolutely no mud and is not very deep. The Brahmaputra, however, was very muddy, so we couldn't see the dolphins unless they surfaced to breathe. But if we couldn't see them below the water, then how do dolphins see each other and the rest of their environment underwater? Well, the answer is that they have evolved to be blind creatures. Since their ancestors couldn't see underwater either, their eyes no longer served a purpose, and now the calves, which are dolphin babies, are born blind with small pinholes where the eyes once were. You see, although these river dolphins are relatives of the sea dolphins, they've lived in rivers for so long that they evolved to be very different, both in appearance and in behavior. When I remember my time along the Brahmaputra, it's not studying dolphins that stays with me, but the small moments that took place. Every evening after a tiring day of work, we would pack up our scientific equipment and sit on the boat deck to have a hearty meal while watching the sun sink into the river. We'd curiously search the river banks near the boat for the pug marks of wild animals, and sometimes we'd even find those of a tiger that might have passed by earlier in the day. And those nights spent on the boat? Well, we used to come up for dinner and eat hot food on a cold, quiet night, floating on the river under the stars, surrounded by the forest. It's these small moments that remain with me. I often think of one such night on the boat when I saw a bright white light streaming inside, and yet again I felt that familiar call of magic. I pushed through the door and climbed up into the brightest night I'd ever seen. I'd entered a different world. The moon was so bright that it was bleeding all across the river, making my surroundings shimmer, much like how I imagined a magical land would look. The surrounding forest was quiet, peaceful, and crisp, except for the sound of the flowing river. My senses were heightened. I was excited. I climbed to the topmost deck of the boat to witness this serene beauty, and I remained there for a while, until I heard splashes in the shimmering water. I turned to find a couple of dolphins sharing that moment with me. They were probably hunting for food or just frolicking. And it was at that moment that I realized I had become part of the magic too. Maybe it's the simplicity of such connective moments that make them so profound to the human heart. But since that day, I know exactly what I'm fighting to defend. It's no longer an abstract feeling or book knowledge alone that drives me to work for our planet's well being. Such moments are like small glimpses of magical reality that remind us of the larger world in which we are a part of. Human creation is indeed fascinating and commendable, but this ancient world is more grandeur than what we perceive, and we are a part of it. So here's your mission, should you want it. Find a career that you're passionate about and make it such that our earth and oceans don't suffer because of it. Let's revolutionize the way human societies function by reintroducing nature at the doorsteps, because, child, that will be the only way that we can dream of surviving. And if it brings back magic into our lives, then isn't it worthwhile?